Here we see Sunderland achieving the seemingly impossible. 3 own goals in 7 first-half minutes against Charlton.
Forget points tallies, we know that Derby and Southampton has since had worse, but no team had previously dared to plumb the depths of sub 20 points in a Premier League season in its history before this Sunderland team did just that. Are they the worst team to ever play in the Premier League? Despite finishing 7th in 2 successive seasons in the top flight, despite their survival in the top flight being achieved in successive seasons for the first time in a generation, Sunderland were at a crucial crossroads in their history. Niall Quinn, the target man for the prolific Kevin Phillips, needed to be put out for pasture soon and would need to be replaced. Peter Reid attempted it ahead of the 2001-2 season, but the acquisition of Lilian Lasland fell flat on its arse and Quinn would appear in every single Premier League game that season. Meanwhile, the prize acquisition from the summer was American star Claudio Reyna, equalling the club record £4.5 million. Much like their previous starts to a Premier League season, Peter Reid's Sunderland started slowly.
Luke Chadwick's cross. Oh, it came off the defender, I think. It's Varga's own goal.
Plenty of movement inside the box as the ball is delivered. The goalkeeper's caught there, and it's over the line.
Except this time there was no turning it around as easily. It was becoming evident that Kevin Phillips' goal scoring was slowing down somewhat. After all, he was never going to be able to hit the heights of a 30-goal a season in the top tier for much longer. Nonetheless, he treated the travelling Black Cats to his 100th club goal at the end of September against Bolton. That was the club's 3rd league win of the campaign. That would barely be doubled before Christmas, as Leeds, West Ham and Everton all fell at the Stadium of Light. It was clear by the turn of the year that this would be a far trickier 3rd campaign.
That looks like block risk. Move on. Oh, here's a real opportunity. And yes, Borough take the lead.
3rd time, so lucky. Turning up.
With a first Sunderland defeat at the Stadium of Light to Newcastle at the back end of February 2002, the Black Cats were just another Premier League outfit. With 11 games to play despite their position of 14th, they appeared relatively safe, 6 points ahead of the drop zone and teams like Blackburn and Derby. Even if the Mags up the road had suddenly become embroiled in a title race, at least Sunderland had their top flight status secured. Except...
Deflection. Dalapona. Well played, Dalapona.
Doing his best, but he can't stop the ball coming in. And whipping touch by Thirlwell.
In the end, it proved a close call. In the end, Sunderland were fortunate that Ipswich Town had won just 1 game since February the 2nd and had a trip to Anfield on the final day. The table might well have read 40 points and a 4-point gap to their eventual relegated rivals, but Sunderland still needed a result on the final day and they had distant memories of 5 years prior when 40 points hadn't been enough. By the summer of 2002 and Niall Quinn's retirement, Peter Reid's woven magic in the transfer market had seemingly escaped him. Gone were the Sorensens and Phillipses, and here was the arrival of Milton F. in Nunez. Quinn's replacement was sourced from Rangers in Toriandre Flo, a Premier League proven quality, but at nearly £7 million, there was a considerable risk attached to the deal. And not for the first time, a Peter Reid Sunderland team started a top flight campaign slowly.
It was the stoppers' lucky day, and Everton's ahead against a run of play when Thomas Rudzinski set up Kevin Campbell.
It's Macaroni now, Nemeth went on the run ahead, but it's still Macaroni, he shoots!
Up ahead of Barry Hiles and superb execution from Junichi Inamoto.
Although this time it cost him his job, averaging at under a point a game after 9 outings. The Black Cats' latest defeat away at Highbury proved the last of the manager's 9 lives. Looking at the table, at least in theory, the club had stood still over the summer, still not darkening the halls of the relegation zone yet under the manager. In his place, a man who knew what it took to win the top flight of English football, yet a man who hadn't managed a club or in the Premier League for 6 whole years.
Great chance! Oh, and a goal!
Yeah, that man's name was Howard Wilkinson, and as you can tell from the above, He didn't have a great start to life as Sunderland manager. He had left his job as technical director at England, bringing Stoke City manager Steve Cotterill along for the ride as his assistant. Way back when he had breathed life into Sheffield Wednesday in the 80s before taking a second-tier Leeds to the last championship before the invention of the Premier League. But that invention of the Premier League, certainly by 2002, had changed the game drastically. In the interim decade, not a single English manager had won the title, and hasn't since. Sky promised a whole new ballgame and, begrudgingly, it had come true even by this point. A grace period ought to be given to any manager in a new job, and soon enough, Sunderland could boast a 4-match undefeated streak that factored in away day draws at the Reebok, the Valley and Anfield, alongside a win in his second home outing in the Premiership, a triumph over Spurs. While successive defeats led into Christmas, Wilkinson had Liverpool's number again on December the 15th, thanks to a late Michael Proctor winner. From the first 9 games, Sunderland had 8 points under Peter Reid. From Howard Wilkinson's first 9 games, Sunderland had 9 points. Improvement! And yet they still found themselves mired in a relegation scrap alongside an uninspiring West Brom, a financially ruined Leeds, as well as teams like Villa, Bolton and West Ham. In their final match before Christmas, Sunderland toiled to a 2-2 draw against West Brom. Still, they lived above the drop zone, 18 points from 19 games on Christmas Day. To say the second half of the season didn't go well was a massive understatement.
7 points from the last 9 for Leeds, cheekily achieved.
And suddenly Beckham gets in behind the Sunderland defence.
2 in 6 minutes.
We should probably stop it there before we get flagged by YouTube. From the 3 own goals against Charlton to quite possibly the worst run of form the Premier League had ever seen, Howard Wilkinson was gone by March 2003. Since Christmas, he had presided over 10 matches of Premier League football. The club had 1 point to their name in that period, a 0-0 draw at home to Blackburn. They had sunk to the bottom of the division, 7 points adrift of safety. Usually in times of strife, Sunderland had been quite good at stringing together a cup run to get their faithful to forget the harsher league times. This wasn't seen in 2003 despite best efforts in the cup when lower division Watford dumped them out of the 5th round stage of the FA Cup. With a Football League return abundantly clear, what could they do now?
Great turn and a great goal.
And although Sunderland will go, I think they're actually dangerous for a lot of teams now, because people would be saying they're bottom of the league, you've got to beat them.
Clement out wide on the left-hand side. Sends in a good ball, that should be easy for Plumb, but he's still in, and Derek McGuinness is in here. And he's got his first goal of the season for West Brom.
What's that? You expected a miraculous escape from the new regime? No, this was not going to happen here, despite the arrival of Mick McCarthy. Much like the previous guy in charge, he couldn't buy a win in the top flight either. 9 defeats from 9, Sunderland finished rock bottom on 19 points. Lower than Ipswich Town's 27 from 1995, lower than Bradford's 26 points from 2001, lower than Watford's miserly 24 points from 2000. An unwanted Premier League record. It appeared as though Mick McCarthy had gone from the frying pan of Saipan, the 2002 World Cup and the Island job, to the fire of Sunderland and their Football League return. The exodus was well telegraphed. Kevin Phillips to Southampton, Claudio Reyna to Man City, both Gavin McCann and Thomas Sorensen to Aston Villa, David Bellion to Man United, Jody Craddock to Wolves, Torrey Andre Flo to Siena and Kevin Kilbane to Everton, just to name a few. They would all play top-flight football. Sunderland, though, would have to wait. And after crashing back into Division 1 with the bump of defeats 16 and 17 in a row in league competition to Forest and Piss in Millwall, it seemed as though the Black Cats would have to wait to replenish their 9 lives. But then they started to pick up a little pace.
Kyle. Oh, and Marcus Stewart with a chance to make it 2.
Away at Bradford. It was no coincidence that Sunderland's return to form came at the same time that Julio found his way back into the starting lineup. Was a contender for goal of the season, but surely nothing could beat this from Mart Poon. The Sunderland goalkeeper came forward to score a flying header in injury time.
After dispatching of Forest at the Stadium of Light on January the 10th, Sunderland had cobbled together 4 wins on the bounce to firmly ensconce themselves in the promotion race. With the automatics in touching distance but the nothingness of 7th still equally viable, their winless next month in the league was worrying. But led by Gary Breen from the back, Sunderland revitalised themselves in the build-up to spring.
Automatic promotion was a long shot because Norwich and West Brom were well clear at the top, but the Black Cats were making absolutely sure they reached the playoffs.
A near-perfect March had pulled the club back into the mix, dropping only 4 points in 9 matches gifted them an outside shot at displacing the top 2 of Norwich and West Brom in automatic contention. Only a collapse of major proportions would spit them out at the playoffs now, and despite those 3 losses on the spin to Ipswich, West Brom and fellow playoff hopefuls Crystal Palace, Sunderland confirmed a seemingly advantageous 3rd place. They'd get a second leg at home in the playoffs, they'd be pitted against the lowest ranked team in the playoffs. What could go wrong? Then Crystal Palace turned up.
Sunderland, here goes Stewart, and he calmly rolls it into the bottom corner. Check now, Bramwell knocks it into the middle. Shifley, oh, an equaliser. Butterfield tees it up, deflection, and goal. Set piece, and does do. Bit of hesitation there. And Kevin Kyle has found the net. There's still time yet for him to have an influence, and he does do, and he scored! 10 roll. It's for Kevin Kyle. Kyle gets it, and Kyle scores! Haunted. McCarthy, can he provide another dangerous ball? And he has done. Oh, it's his corner kick. Sunderland still under pressure. Palace looking for something. And they've got it! And yet again, I've got a second chance. Go to McCarthy. Oh, this time Basson saves. Basson do it again. Oh, Basson does! Nobody wants to win this. Boom. Can he come up with a hat-trick? He's done it, Michael Hughes, and it's Palace who are Cardiff bound.
And so it was confirmed to be a season of heartache. A near miss in the playoffs under controversial circumstances to Palace. The death of 1973 Cup hero Bob Stokoe in the earlier weeks of 2004, which was matched by an FA Cup run to rival his attempt 31 years prior.
Kick, difficult to defend, coming over the shoulders there. Stewart is in, bit of confusion, it's loose for Arthur, it's 1-0 Sunderland.
Again, Carl in the middle, held up by Morgan, this is Tommy Smith. Fantastic goal, it's Tommy Smith again.
But it ultimately proved a case of so near, so far away for the Black Cats, in a world where the FA Cup runner-up would qualify for Europe, and a world where the semi-final draw kindly bestowed Sunderland a Football League side in Millwall, whilst 2 Champions League outfits in Man United and Arsenal fought each other in the other tie. The club were suddenly favourites for a European return.
Ifill goes alone, blocked by plumb. Cahill! He's on the spot.
Alas, with Millwall's win, it wasn't to be. It would be they gracing the Millennium Stadium, Cardiff, and even further afield in the UEFA Cup, and 10th in the newly christened Championship the following season. For Sunderland, a trip back to normality, a trip back to success.
Right, the long throw, and this is Stephen Elliott. What can he come up with here? Round one, and the keeper there saved. No, Stewart with a follow-up. Marcus Stewart for 1-0.
Willie Walker steps outside his man, lower cross, goal! And it's an opener for Sunderland, and Stephen Elliott.
He's got it back, Robinson's through. Oh, what a top quality finish from Carl Robinson. Parker, Whitehead. Oh, a sensational strike from Dean Whitehead.
The club was firmly in reset mode. After leaving the stock exchange that summer, Mick McCarthy scoured the country for cheap alternatives to the 20 million worth of talent that had departed since relegation. They included Dean Whitehead, Stephen Elliott, Stephen Caldwell and Liam Lawrence. Meanwhile, Marcus Stewart took on the Kevin Phillips mantle, top scoring with 16. That low scoring rate combined with 94 points, 9 away from the playoff-ridden Ipswich, spoke to a solid team, one that eventually raced back to the Premier League with open arms.
Horton with the corner kick, and Breen is up there, not again from Mike Collins. Oh, double disaster.
Broken to Chris Brown, who slides it across, and in comes Stewart.
Caldwell puts a decent cross in, it's an excellent cross, and it's the opening goal of the night.
Seem to keep the ball in. And this is Marcus Stewart in a great position, and Sunderland have got the lead in the 3rd minute. Here goes Elliott now. Elliott, back to be the goal that wins the championship. Stephen Elliott.
The landscape had changed that much at the Stadium of Light that the headline signings in the summer of '05 was striker John Stead and goalkeeper Kelvin Davis. Both would prove to be pretty disastrous signings. The loans and frees market was exploited for the talent of Nyron Nosworthy, Alan Stubbs, Anthony Letalic and Justin Hoyt. Immediately it was patently clear that this Sunderland team was a record breaker.
Charlton, the angle's disappearing. Needs help, Murphy's there. It's bent and he scored! It's Xabi Alonso! It's brilliant!
Now Barton, that's a wonderful ball forward and Vasseli's onside!
Oh, a mistake. Jeremy has scored for Chelsea!
Record breaking for all the wrong fucking reasons. From the reigning champions of England in Chelsea to the reigning champions of Europe in Liverpool, right the way through to Minnows, Wigan Athletic experiencing their first taste of top-flight football, nobody was immune to receiving 3 points from the Black Cats. It left the club holding the daunting record of 20 Premier League games lost in a row. It is a run that is unlikely to be broken anytime soon, even with the gaping chasm now between first and second tiers. Before finally on September the 17th, Sunderland fans were able to crack open the cans. For the first time in 21 games they had earned a Premier League point. Who gives a shit if it was a draw at home against West Brom, statistically the 19th worst team in the league that season? A point was worth celebrating. Imbued by what little confidence had been boosted, Sunderland moved to the Riverside in search of a first top-flight triumph in 27.
Early danger this from Sunderland, Tommy Miller inside the penalty area, Miller finds the finish and the former Hartlepool striker has put Sunderland into the lead at the Riverside. Arker with a free kick, left-footed over the wall.
Hallelujah. Sunderland had won a game of Premier League football and what's more, they weren't even bottom of the division anymore. So what if Everton had a game in hand? Sunderland's 4 points from 7 games kept them from the foot of the league and they began to dream of safety. So, could the season truly begin again for the Black Cats?
Remember, if it stays this way. Oh, it's an extraordinary goal! Absolutely extraordinary!
Wilmer gets round his man, squares in, it's a tap in, and Aston Villa through Gareth Barry.
And he was caught on the head there by Gray. Play goes on, a chance here now for Bent. It had to be Darren Bent who would break the deadlock.
No, they got 1 point from the next 10 games, leaving them with just 5 points on Christmas Day and a staggering 11 more points to make up on West Brom in the sanctity of 17th. Presents unwrapped, another season was cataclysmically already over for the Black Cats. The malaise continued on Boxing Day as a 0-0 draw at home to Bolton Wanderers was hardly going to set pulses racing or spark a run out of nowhere. And that was proven in the next weeks, Everton and Chelsea cropping up at the Stadium of Light and taking 3 points before the January 2nd visit to Fulham was, of course, an empty-handed one. But then the tiniest morsel of hope, a West Brom own goal from Steve Watson that gifted Sunderland only their second 3 points of the season, once again away from home. Alright, there's no point betraying the story any longer. Sunderland wouldn't win again under the management of Mick McCarthy. If any potential revival was to come, it was quickly quashed by defeats against Middlesbrough and West Ham, as February began with more of the same. Trust Spurs to gift a point to Sunderland before McCarthy's tenure ended as it began. Defeats and yet more defeats in the Premier League springtime. To Ewood and a loss, to St Andrews another loss. To the City of Manchester Stadium, as it was called back then, a third loss. In his place, the doomed club announced former player Kevin Ball would take charge until the end of the season. Here's how he got on. Spoiler, same as the last guy.
Oh, wonderful run from Reid going infield. Fancies the shot! Stunning goal from Stephen Reid!
Not even the weather wanted to watch Sunderland play football anymore, so it snowed in April and got the match with Fulham abandoned. It was the first weather-related abandonment in Premier League history, and only one has occurred since. Fulham were leading through Brian McBride before Mike Riley halted the match after 21 minutes. Had it been allowed to go ahead, Sunderland would have been put out of their misery there and then with a defeat. Instead, they'd have to wait a further 6 days when they gained an otherwise creditable point at Old Trafford. It would be the last of 8 points picked up on the road all season. And even then, that wouldn't be the worst away record of the season. That belonged to Fulham. What a perfect team to beat to ensure that Sunderland didn't become the first ever English League team to avoid a home win all season. After all, Alan Shearer had ended his miserable career by scoring in a 4-1 win at Sunderland in April, and Champions League chasing Arsenal has stuck a similarly wide win beyond Sunderland to begin May. It left one chance remaining. Alright, you're going to have to take my word for it. I couldn't find the footage anywhere, not even for the abandoned game either, so you're going to have to believe me on that case too. Trust me, both happened. Back to the video. There you go. Fulham were just the third Stadium-of-Light victims after the mighty Cheltenham Town in the League Cup and Northwich Victoria of the Conference North in the FA Cup had been slain. Even then it took extra time for the Black Cats to dispose of the former. Irrespective of the penultimate game's win, Sunderland had long been consigned to another record points tally, as they claimed just 15 points all season after the campaign concluded with a wholly predictable loss at Villa Park. This, alongside many other Sunderland videos, are in this Tour of Britain playlist, a series of videos we'll be doing in the run-up to next year's World Cup.